as the children go, if you don't know who I am Pastor Jason. I'm also the one who has the privilege of listening to and enjoying and appreciating Scott's internal sense of humor. That he could say, pray for Jason, with the undertone of a laugh and saying, it's better him than me. So I definitely appreciate that, man. But thank you so much. I made a joke first service that my goal is I got to preach to 100. Thank you for surpassing that. You never know this time of year, right? It is what it is. But it is honestly a blessing to be with you as we, at least as I have been preparing to do, is preparing for a new year and be a new me. I know this seems so superficial, that we're going to discover today with a story that Jesus had, an encounter Jesus had with a young man. Being a new year and being a new me can truly happen. Even if for 364 days of it, it's been pitiful. So I hope you're encouraged by this morning. But one thing that might be discouraging to you is maybe as I reflect upon my last year, I hope it doesn't discourage you. I hope it gives you hope. I hope you laugh a little bit. Because it's true, this has been a year for me where I did it. Let me tell you, I'm not going to lie. I thought when you hit 31, life fell apart. And they tell you the glory days of 30, you get gray hair, you lose hair, you gain weight. Thankfully, in a year and 3 months, it hasn't happened to me yet. By God's grace. I recognize this year that I finally achieved one of the great moments of my life. It wasn't graduating, though that's one of the things I did this year. I got my master's, if you didn't know that. I got hooded. I was kind of awesome. I wouldn't normally ever stay in my life I've been hooded. And it sounds like something really bad. When you get your master's, it's a good thing. It's actually a celebration. They hood you. Don't ask me. It sounds weird. But anyways, I had that happen to me this year. I had another thing that was pretty awesome. Not quite as cool as what I'm about to tell you about. But I even had a child, and you parents will get this. I have one child who's potty trained. Right? Praise Jesus. Thank you. My wife did a good job. I can't really say I potty trained. She stays home. But a lot has happened this year. It's been amazing. You know, I learned that potty training is amazing because you don't buy diapers. You know, the bag, what you put in the bag is smaller. The difference is you don't bring one out, but you bring three. Yeah. And instead of the mess by accident landing somewhere, you get this experience I got yesterday. So we're at Kokomo, we're at home with my extended family, my grandmother, one that's left. We had Christmas with her yesterday, and kids are just playing, and all of a sudden I'm talking to my brothers and my sister-in-laws, and I get this screech, not quite a screech, sorry, but all of a sudden I get this, Jason, I need you! And I'm like, I wanted to say, I did not say. I realized, I've learned in 7 years you don't say this to your wife. I'm talking, I'll be right there. So bad I want to say that, thinking like, even my dad would snap me across the table. So anyway, I didn't say that, but I'm like, what? She goes, I need clothes. So I look around and think, did Bubby go through it? And I'm like, oh no, there's Bubby. It's Hope that's missing. So we get this, Hope is potty training going great, and all of a sudden I get this screech from Rachel. I take too long. Rachel goes back out and says, I need clothes. I'm okay. If I get up to my table, I will admit the second time, forgive me. I'm sorry. I haven't asked for forgiveness yet. I love you. She's up here. Anyways, and I go outside. I grab the stuff. I come back. I walk in, and I'm like, what did you drink? I mean, it's everywhere. She got to the bathroom. This is Hope's thing. She went to the bathroom, and all of a sudden it's like a... And then we're like, what? I didn't make it. We're like, no! So it's everywhere. So anyways, this year I did it. I have accomplished 85% of the way of getting a child, whatever it means to be potty trained. I don't even know. I thought this was going to be great. I get $25 extra a month not buying diapers we get go out to eat. But no, it hasn't happened that way. I have to buy more clothes that she brings. So anyways, this year has been a year I did it. I have literally graduated. I got a kid in school. I've got a kid that's 99% of the time potty trained. I have done it. But this caps it all. This is better than me getting hooded. This is better than my child. I mean this seriously. This is better than having to change one less diaper. 3 weeks ago, on the last day I was finishing up my master's, it's about 9:30. I did 2 weeks of homework in 1 week. I have one more paper to write. I'm at the point of thinking, like, I got a week to write this. I don't have to write this yet. But I'm like, no, get it done. It was the week of the Christmas concert. I'm like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there's just no way. So I'm sitting in my recliner in our bedroom. Rachel's watching the worst movie I've ever seen. And I get a break. I need a break. I look up and thinking, like, I can't watch this. So I make this nice, cute, loving comment, and I meant it that way. I'm like, this is a bad movie. And she goes, I'm sorry, it is bad. I've watched all the other ones. We don't pay for cable. So she's enjoying the Christmas season through Netflix. And as much as Netflix has a lot, it's pretty limited, I discovered. And when you get to the end, it doesn't end well, okay? I'm going to let you say it ends well. It doesn't with Netflix. You get to the last movie, and you're like, what is this? So I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm going to get a little rest. I'm going to watch this movie. And I'm like, a little bit later, I'll let time go by. And I'm like, this is a really bad movie. She goes, yeah, it is. Nothing happens. I'm like, maybe she'll get the hint. You know? And then finally, I got the nerve to do what no man should ever do by succeeding. For all of you dads, for all of you husbands, for all of you wives, for all of you grandparents, mostly for all of you kids, who have to suffer for 25 to 40 days over Christmas, watching stupid Hallmark movies. I'm sorry, Jesus didn't like me. Okay? I did it for you. I said to my wife, do you think, my teenagers are going to love this, I'm like, do you think we can shut off this and watch The Office? She said yes, turned it off, and we watched The Office. It was great. I don't even know how to describe to you how amazing the feeling was. I got up the next day and was like, Rachel, I did it. She's like, I have no idea. I'm like, I saved Christmas. Santa didn't do it. Jesus tried. He got it here. We lost it. I saved it. No, I'm just kidding. But really, I did. I did it this year. I got my wife to shut off a stupid Christmas movie. And actually, I'll be honest with you, I don't hate them all, but that one was bad. And I just thought, in one sentence, my wife turned on The Office. So don't go watch The Office. It's interesting. But anyways, I happen to like it. Admittedly, Jesus spared me. But I did it this year. But as much as I have accomplished a lot, like saving Christmas, there's a lot this year I wish I could say I did. But there's a lot that I did, and there's a lot that I did not do. For example, a few weeks ago, I was so excited that I put on this tux for Christmas Sunday because Amy said I could wear whatever I wanted, so I did. I didn't wear my other Christmas players too. They thought, I'm going to wear a tux. I'm going to come and buy it off. You remember, I was all up here on the stage and I was all decked out. Anyways, that was the tux that I got my freshman year or either senior year of high school or freshman year of college. And I walked in with it all buttoned thinking, like, how many of you can do this? Right? I mean, it's been how many years since I graduated high school and I can still button. Not the pants, because let's just be honest, they have the dual standards on the side. That's kind of cheating. But I could button my jacket still. But when I get on the scale, I realize, as much as I've lost weight, I didn't this year. I mean, first of all, I got to bend over to get around it so I can actually see the scale. You know how that works, right? My dad always said he kept this investment where he could see it. I'm like, you can't see anything else. That's the problem. But anyways, I did it this year, and there's a lot I didn't. And I think Kevin is right. He was right on Mills a few seconds ago. Some of you can celebrate this year that you did it. Some of you can celebrate this year that you accomplished something. You finally paid off debt. You finally made headway in your marriage. You've made commitments to your relationship and something happened and it's beautiful. Maybe this year you committed to something and you actually did it. You're part of that like 8% of America who actually can follow through with your goals. This year was a new year for you, and it was a new year of a new you. But for most of us, if we were to be honest, this year is the year I did. This is the year I didn't make the headway of my finance I wanted to do. This isn't the year I finally did it. This isn't the year that my relationship took off. In fact, maybe you have reasons to be sorrowful and have a hard time counting your blessings. This is the year the relationship took a step back. This isn't the year for you that you did it. You cannot say 2018 was the year I did it. You can say that 2018 was the year I did it. In fact, maybe you are thinking about and planning, and you're looking at your New Year's resolutions. How many of you are actually going to do a New Year's resolution? Anybody want to be honest? Go America. All right. Did anybody raise their hand? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Oh, I should have looked up. Way to go. We got 3 of you. 3 of us are going to have a new year. This is such a positive thing to preach on. Okay, so the 3 of you, if you can come to the front row. And I can come. But you are thinking about what is it I need to did. One thing I learned as a master, once you get your master's, you can change the English language. So just deal with my grammar. This is the year you're going to do it, and you're thinking about what is it I need to do? What is it by the end of the year I hope I did? If you look at 2019 and you're like, this is the year I did it, this is what I'm going to do, and you think through it, most likely your list looks a lot like mine. Even in the midst of all the things I accomplished this year, your year probably looks a lot like mine. This year's list was last year's list. Right? This year's list is full of, I'm going to get down to 175 pounds, which was not what I graduated at from high school, but it still feels like a good number. I'm going to get there. Finally, I'm under 200. That's a positive. But still, I'm going to get there. Right? This is the year that I'm going to do last year's list that I planned to do the year before that. This is the year that I'm going to finally put all of my year's same list that I have crinkled up and pulled out every January. This is the year I'm finally going to check off my list. This is the year for you, maybe you just look at it and think, what's the point? If my New Year's resolution list rolls over every year. Trust me, I understand. I have one kid potty trained. I still have to wipe the butt on the other. So I get it. This is the year maybe you wish, you hope that you can have some even dream that this is the year that finally your list starts to look different. But this is what I have discovered. This is what I have to fight through myself over the next 36 hours-ish as I plan for next year. Is the reality that when my last year's list from the year before becomes my list this year, the simple truth is what I begin to see is that every year will be a didn't year. That when I look back and if I analyze the last 360 some days and I say, how did my year go? And then I look at the year before that, now that I have a few years underneath my belt, literally, a few years underneath my belt, I can say, from what I can see, based on my experience, based upon my lifestyle, based upon what I can see from everything in front of me, this year is going to be another didn't year. And I hope and pray this morning that this isn't where you feel. But the question I want to look at today, under the reality that potentially your list is the same as the last several years' list, that you are living in a life that you want it to be a did it year, is full of I didn't this year. Is that maybe in your spiritual life or your relationships or your finances, this could be the year where it's probably a new year, new me. And so the question I want to ask is, how does that happen? How do we make this year the year we did it? How do we make this the year where finally we get over the hump? How do we make this year finally the year we can look back with joy and praise and say, give glory to God, let's count our blessings, because this year is the year I did it. This is the year I don't have to watch another Christmas. This is the year I'm not to change another diaper. Actually, it's on my list. Bubby's going to make it. He's going to be faster than Hope. Hope decided to wait until she couldn't go to school. She could get potty trained, but she made it. Maybe you're hoping this year, this is the year, but you are honestly, let's just be honest with ourselves, you're honestly asking, how is this year going to be any different? It's not that you're pessimistic. It's not that you don't have some optimism. I'm an extreme optimist. But you're also realistic. Because you can see what's right in front of you, and potentially what's right in front of you is screaming, this isn't going to be the year. So how do we make this the year we finally did it? Jesus finds a man, somewhat by accident. Maybe he intentionally found him on purpose. But Jesus comes across a man one day as he is walking towards the temple. He's entered Jerusalem. He's traveling from the north-south to Jerusalem, from the north down south to Jerusalem to celebrate a festival. And as he's approaching it, the scripture tells us that Jesus enters into an area where these pools are. We're going to read together. But he finds a man, and he asks the man basically this question. He asks the man simply, do you want to get well? Do you want this to be the year you did it? Do you want this to be the year where finally things go your way? Do you want this to be the year where you can finally start checking off the list I've made? Do you want this to be the year that your mediocre life, actually let's just be honest, I mean this respectfully, pitiful life means something? Do you want this to be the year where you can finally say of yourselves, I did it? Do you want to get well? Here's how the story goes according to John chapter 5. Jesus is near Jerusalem at the sheep gate where there's a pool, which in Aramaic means Bethsaida, and which is surrounded by 5 colored colonnades. Now this is important. We don't get this in verse 4 here in a second. In your pew Bibles, if you have Bible in your hand, it's not there. They've taken it out because it's assumed that it's actually not original. But anyways, this is a unique pool. This isn't just a traditional pool. This isn't the pool we go to because we want to swim there. In fact, you don't want to be by this pool. The fact that Jesus finds people by this pool is sickening. It's sad. It's extremely disappointing. This is a depressing area. You don't go like, hey, who wants to go to the pool of Bethsaida today? No one wants to end up at this pool. And this is what we discover in verse 3. Here, a great number, not a few, not some, not this one random guy, but a great number, a significant number, a number that's big enough to even use the article great. A great number of disabled people. People who needed to get what? Well. Who needed this to be a different year. People who needed to have a change in their life. Let's just be honest, I've never been disabled. But people who would think they're disabled want to have something different. at least early on in the process. And Jesus is saying these are a great number of disabled people where they used to lie. They come here, not just a few, but the pool is surrounded. Maybe you can't even barely get to the pool if you try, because there are so many people who are around it because they are disabled. The blind, the lame, the paralyzed are there. And the reason they're there, as we discover in verse 4, is because it was believed that as an angel would come down and stir the water, the first person who would get into the water would be healed. So if this is a place where healing happens, if you're disabled, this is where you go. And this wasn't just known by the one man again. Remember, this is known by a great number of people. As Jesus is walking towards the temple, he approaches this pool, and maybe Jesus was filled with compassion. Maybe someone told him about it. As he gets there, he sees and discovers just the disparity about all of these people who have lost hope. All of these people are imagining, man, I wish I was away from this pool. I wish I was one of them who didn't have to lay by this pool. I wish I had a different life. I wish this could be a new year and a new me. I wish this could be the year I did. That's where Jesus finds himself, surrounded by people like you and me who say, how is this year going to be any different? Jesus finds out details about this man. Tell us in verse 5. Jesus finds a man who had been there, who was an invalid, which basically means he's so sick and so weak he can't walk, who had been there, just say it with me, for 38 years. All right, the three of you who are working on your New Year's resolutions, thank you. Now the rest of us, right? 1, 2, 3. 38 years. All right, we added 3 more. Thank you. 38 years. Jesus learns that there is this man lying there, and that he had been there for a long time. Now let me just explain this to you real quick. When we see the phrase 38 years, this is no joke. If you live to be the age of 2 in the time of Jesus, guess how old you live to be? You may remember from Wednesday nights. 40. The average lifespan for an adult back then who lived to be the age of 2, if you made it to 2, your life expectancy was 40. And it tells us in verse 14, now I'm going to read to you, but go home and read chapter 5. In verse 14, Jesus says to the guy, after he's been healed, and he happens to run into him at a later time, the story's over, he runs into him, he says, hey, don't get yourself back into that situation. You have been healed again. Which means that this man had had a part of his life. He remembers being healed. He remembers getting sick. So this guy has lived beyond a normal lifespan. He's likely much older than 38 because he remembers not being like this. And somehow or another, through some incident or accident or tragedy, he gets thrown, unfortunately, I'm going to assume unfortunately, into this lifestyle of being an invalid where he can't walk, he can't help himself. And he's laying here with a great number of other miserable people who are just hoping maybe they're the one who gets to the water first. Because only one gets healed. And he's laying here, and I'm just going for fun to assume, because we don't know, that he's been laying here for 38 years. Because the day he got this, maybe he had someone who loved him, who never said, I'm going to take you to the only place you can get healed, and that is the pool, the sheep gate of Bethesda. I'm going to take you there so you can get a new life, so you can get a new you, get a new body. And this could be the year you did it. But 38 years passed. Does anybody have an idea? Is that we don't know how often the water was stirred, if it ever was. But if he laid there for every day for 38 years, does anybody have an idea how many days that is? Just for fun. Throw it out. I hear 1,000. A little bit more than 1,000. 13,000, I think, 870 days. Say that again. 13,870 days. The guy lays there with the desire, this needs to be the year I do it. And Jesus has the tenacity, I think this is so crazy, to ask him this question. So, I'm sorry you've been here. I really am. I can feel Jesus. I mean, we know Jesus was loving and compassionate. I can kind of feel Jesus' attitude a little bit. Do you want to get well? I mean, at this point, you're thinking like, get away from me. Like, do I want to get well? First of all, would I be here if I wanted to get well? Would I just lay out here in the wide open underneath the scorching sun by a pool and watch all these people be miserable and one person get healed? Never be. Do you think I want to be that guy? So, I mean, the guy responds to Jesus, I think, in a pretty humorous way. He says, sir. He doesn't give him any credit. Surely, he's been told, hey, by the way, dude, you're a special guy. Jesus wants to talk to you. Somebody had to at least give him an introduction. This is the guy who healed everybody else in the previous village. This is the guy you want to talk to. It's your day. And the guy's like, do I want to get well? Well, duh. Sure, sir. I want to get well. Undoubtedly, I want to get well. But let me be honest with you. Let me tell you my life. Let me be real with you. Let me tell you what I see. Here is my perspective. This is what I see every single day. And the man says to Jesus, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. In other words, when there is a chance for me to be healed, I can't be healed. Thanks for asking, though. Have a good day. Merry Christmas to you. When I'm trying to get in, this is so important. This man's situation, I'm convinced by the story, does not mean he wanted to be there or was lazy. It tells us that the man was at the right place and trying to do all he could do to change his circumstances. And yet, year after year, 13,000, almost 14,000 days pass, and the man is still trying to get in. He's still trying to what? Do I want to get well? I've been trying for 13,870 odd days to get well. But every time, someone else goes down ahead. In other words, Jesus, from what I can see, it's going to be another different year. From what I can see, Jesus, from my perspective, the way I see life, the way I see myself, let me just tell you, from what I can see, there is no chance. Just humor me for a second. And imagine the perspective that this guy has. I'm going to use this platform here to give you an illustration. He can't walk, he can't stand, so he's likely lying down. It tells us in the next verse that he's on a mat. So we're going to assume there's a nice pretty mat here. It's gray. It's more comfortable than this. And he's laying on it. Actually, I highly doubt after 38 years of laying on the same mat, it's very comfortable, but we'll give the guy some credit. And he's laying on this. Now, I'm a short person anyways, right? If you're short, honey, you get this, right? People in front of you, they're all taller than you. But when you're laying down, you're really short. So if I'm laying in this perspective and the water gets stirred and it's like it's time and I'm like this, if I look up, all I see is everybody else who is taller than me, faster than me, maybe in better shape than me. All I see is a lot of people who are rushing to the waters ahead of me. That's all I see. In fact, I see worse than that. I see those people who run stop. And all I ever see is a bunch of people who run with a glimpse of hope it's going to be different, and they turn around and they walk back, disheartened that this wasn't their time either. Because when you're short, you just see the back of a lot of people. Think of Zacchaeus. He had to climb a tree to see Jesus because he couldn't see the greatness in front of him until he changed his perspective. And this man was never going to see anything different if he stayed on that ground at that mat for another year. In other words, unless he changes what he can see, it is undoubtedly going to be another didn't year. Unless he changes what he sees, unless he gets a new perspective, what he sees will always blind him. What he sees will always blind him to reality, because if all he can see is people running to get healed and never get healed, you know what he never sees? The person getting healed. Because from his perspective and from what he can see, he never sees the person healed. He sees people who tried and failed, who have a little better than them, but at least they can try. And here he is just laying there for 13,000 days just wondering, when is it going to be my turn? From his perspective, all he can see is that this is going to be a didn't year. But yet, who? Jesus. Jesus comes and asks him this question, do you want this year to be different? And the man's response is, it can't be, based on what I see. So here's the question. Let me ask you, what do you see? There's some research out there that suggests these are the 5 categories that we see every day. I know it's a little smaller, so I want to read it to you. It took a lot more of the screen than I wanted. So there are 5 categories I think every single person sees. Go watch the TED Talk on this. It's really good. Life's miserable. My life's miserable. I'm great. We're great. Life's great. This is so amazing that this guy suggests in his research that these are the 5 main categories we see. 2% of the people in the world see life's miserable. Praise Jesus. Not quite that bad. And about 75-ish, maybe more, of America lives in this category. Which means the high majority of the people are, I would argue, bouncing back and forth between my life's good, my life's great. It's kind of like the whole, sunflower thing. He loves me not. At this point, when you got the he loves me part, that's good. But unfortunately, there's another pedestal, right? You have a pedestal. No, we're not pedals. Life's just great. Yes. No, life's okay. Here, we live in a reality, this researcher suggests, that what we see, our perspective, based on what we can see from our reality, either we see life in general as miserable, we see my life as miserable, I'm doing great, I'm happy where I'm at, or we're doing great, it becomes a we, and then life's great where it's about God. This is what they see. A life as miserable as this poor gentleman who Jesus runs into, who said, nothing's good's happening. I don't even see somebody get well. All I know is somebody runs ahead of me. And they all turn around disappointed. Then there's a person I think fits a lot of our lives. It's not that I didn't want it, I didn't get it. And because we're Americans, we have social media and everything else and TV. I didn't get it, but somebody else did. We can process and evaluate, like, wow, this wasn't my year. Did you see Sally? Did you see their relationship? Man, I actually got on the other day just to kind of prep myself, thinking like, we're going to do it. Rachel and I, we're going to make it. I'm going to have a day I can go on the Dave Ramsey show and scream, I'm not a public yet. Right? That's my dream one of these moments. It's not this year, maybe a year and a half from now. It's going to be the year I can scream that. And I'm ready. I got to watch these people full of joy and thinking, they did it. I haven't. Okay, they did it. It's so much fun. Go watch it. Go ahead and get on Instagram and see everybody else's lives, because they're out there. Someone's life is great, but this is a person who says, I wanted to do it, but this wasn't my year. These are the people whom the man sees running towards the water, and all they can see is the one person who got in. They see life as miserable. So if they see their life as miserable, they can't imagine anything much greater than that. What they really see is somebody else got it and not them. Then there's this person, and this is the American dream. I'm great. I got it and must keep it. I have finally got that home. I finally got the job. I finally got the family. I finally got the boat. I finally got, you name it. I have made it, and all of a sudden now, there is no way in the world you're going to lose it. There's no way. I love kids. Hope doesn't quite do this yet, but I know the day's coming. When she's going to ask me for something, and I'm going to say, hey, where's that birthday money? And she's going to say, well, I said to my mom for way too many years, well, I don't want to use my money. Right? You guys laugh, you're thinking like, yeah, my wall still has the hole for the older kids. Right now. But I mean, the truth is, once we get it, who wants to lose it? I remember when I was a kid, and this is back obviously when a $100 bill really meant a lot, and I would get like 20s for my birthday or 10s for Christmas, and I would go to the bank and intentionally say, can I have 100? There was just something about when I was 10 years old holding a $100 bill in my hand. It never lasted until I got to Walmart. But, in my mind, it's like, God, I'm living the dream. The America is all about get the job, get the person, get the relationship. This is what it means to be living the American dream. As long as you got it, it doesn't really matter if they didn't. Your goal is you. Go take care of yourself. And then there's Christianity. Then there's the two laws of Jesus. Love others, love me. Where all of a sudden, the I and the you combine. You guys know what you plus I equals, right? We. When you and I become added to each other, we're now a we. And the moment all of a sudden, it's not just about how miserable my life is or how great my life is. And it becomes this, let me help you get it too. Can you imagine if two of them, don't you guys love these stories where someone is in a race and someone falls and gets hurt and the person behind them picks them up? I mean, isn't that a beautiful scene? And yet you have this guy's story, he's like, no one helped me. I mean, this is what I think we see every day. I mean, I would love to think you're here, but I'm preaching today because we aren't. I'm preaching today because so many of us, myself included, have found moments in our lives where we bounce back and forth, where it's about what I have and what they have, and what I don't and they do. It's all about this. No wonder we live in a world of anxiety, where the American dream is make sure you got more than the person beside you. So here you got envy and strife, and here you got greed. And that sounds a lot like our community. And this is what we see. So, I mean, and here's the biggest kicker about this research. The research suggests that you can only see one above and one below. So if you see my life is miserable, you can't see how you can help somebody else. I mean, how can you help somebody when somebody else has it? But I think what really happens is not only do we only see one above and one below, I think our tendency is to stare down. Because there's no way in the world I want to get worse. And so I got to protect my assets from those people. So you know what we do now? We lock our doors, we put money in banks, because I've got it now. I can't lose it. And interestingly enough, we stop just short of the blessings and promise of Jesus. Why? Because what we see blinds us. And Jesus' simple answer to the man is, dude, get up. Change your perspective. From where you're laying, if you continue to stay there, you'll never see anything different than you've seen for 38 years. And so Jesus says, get up, pick up your mat, don't go back anymore. Stop living this way. The mat is where you've been living. Don't get up and say, oh, I didn't make it, let's go back to the mat, right? That's the idea of, oops, I made it 2 days on my diet, I need that bowl of ice cream, let's go back. Guys, don't struggle with that, that's just me. Ice cream's my friend. Jesus tells the man, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. In other words, you need a new perspective. You need a new perspective. But here's my question I want to land with in the next few minutes as we end. And that is, if it was really this simple, why didn't the man get up? I mean, if it was just this simple, and Jesus is saying, dude, get up, change your perspective. I know you're sick, but just see that someone got healed. Just see that maybe life is miserable, but you know what? Your life is worse than miserable, but maybe you can get a little bit better. See that someone else finally got it. Get up and see a little bit more. Get some hope. This is a churchy word, it's a Sunday school answer, right? Have a little faith. Get up and change your perspective. Why did he do it if it was so simple? Well, he tells us in the first verse when the guy responds, he says, sir, let me tell you about my experience. And read this line with me. Sir, I have, ready? 1, 2, 3. I have no one to help me. I have no one to help me. The guy needs a new perspective. And for 38 years, he's done everything he can by himself. He's lived in the, this is my life, and I without a you, which means there's no me. And interestingly enough, his answer to Jesus is, do I want to get well? Yes, but I can't alone. I've tried and I have no one. He has nobody involved in his life. See, look at the research, understanding what Jesus is telling the man. This is what I picture Jesus doing. This is so beautiful. He's saying to the man, get up. He doesn't tell us how the guy got up, but a man who hasn't walked for 38 years isn't going to be like, woo! Right? I mean, it's going to be like every time I fall down on the court, I'm always like, don't you love being that guy in a basketball game? No one's going to help me up. I got it. I mean, somebody always runs over, even the other team, and says, I got you, right? I mean, we need each other. As much as changing your perspective would change the world, you can't do it alone. And Jesus discovered that for this man, he needed somebody. And in this moment, this is so amazing, maybe you're waiting for this, that Jesus was that man. Jesus was the person this man had been waiting for, someone to just calmly say, let me help you. Let's do this together. Jesus didn't tell the man, get up and say, hey, I'll be back in an hour, see if you got it. Jesus reached, this is how I believe it, Jesus reached out his hand, helped the man up, took his mat and said, let's just throw this away, and helped him throw it away. And the man got a new year and a new me. Not because he tried harder, because he had already been trying. Not because he knew there was another way, but because someone reached out their hand and said, get up. Someone reached their lives into his life and changed it. And because he accepted an invitation from someone else, he changed. Just like these people, if you think your life is miserable, you need to see that there are other people who can help you. I remember growing up with my grandma who hated receiving gifts because she grew up in the Great Depression era of not having anything, and she was determined I'm taking care of myself. Now I'm thinking, man, I hope one day that I don't live miserable only because I reject the help of others. And then there's all of us who live in the American dream and saying, you know what, I got it. I don't care if you don't. It's called greed. I'm just going to hold on to it. It's mine. It's my body. I took on the 80, right? Come on. It's mine. Can you imagine the world we live in if a few of us just reached out our hands and said, I got what you need? We become a we, and we'd be great, and it'd be beautiful. Jesus would be glorified. Because because we can't see how good God is until we have helped others be Jesus. And interestingly enough, all we need to do is change our perspective. But most of us are sitting here, just like you are now, and you can't answer what I think are the three most important questions we're ever going to ask. Who is it? Can you answer this question? Who is that other for you? Do they have a name? Who is it? Who is that person who can look at you and say, hey, it's been rough. Let's do this together. Who is that person who can call you by name and say, Jason, I know you? For me, for 30 long years, nearly 30 years of my life, I had a name for this. And technically still do. But I learned that I only had an answer to this question. You see, I'm an identical twin if you don't know that. I have another person. I can't even explain what it's like to be a twin to Rachel. Every time somebody says you want to be a twin, like, you don't understand. We're like this. We're inseparable to this day. If anything happens, he gets the praise. He calls me first. I have to remember now, I get in trouble if I don't tell Rachel first. We've been married for 7 years. I know now. It's like, nope, but the phone. I do this all the time. I'm like, phone. I'm like, nope. Tell Rachel tonight, and then you can call Jerry. I don't know why. We're just the greatest way. I know who it is. But you know what's amazing? I never, ever answered question number 2. I mean, is Jeremy right? I had no idea he was going to help me. What it ended up being was this me venting and just pouring out to him. This is how life stinks. This is how life is miserable. This is how my life is. And Jeremy would be like, I'm sorry, can I pray for you? I had no idea how even my own best companion in life at the time could help me. I knew who it was, but I had no idea. How is that person in your mind? If you can name a person, can you tell yourself, this is how they're going to help me out? This is how they're going to reach down. Because do we know one thing? This man needed more than a human. He needed Jesus. And he got Jesus. When he reached down his hand, he walked. Interestingly enough, I think it takes more than a person. It takes us knowing, how is that person going to help me? So now, over the last year and a half, I've been meeting with 5 guys in this community, which is absolutely changing my life. 5 guys in the community, some of them are even here, 4 of them go to our church besides myself. Young guys who we meet every Thursday, or almost every Thursday, and sometimes just like, the question goes like this, yep, they peed their pants again. I mean, the kids, not us, not our wives, not the kids. Sometimes it starts off with like, guys, this has been a bad week, or sometimes it's been, hey, I got a bad phone call, or sometimes it's really been, hey, well, for one of the persons, I lost my job, and we processed that together. And it was so cool 2 weeks ago to be together and hear one of them, who I hadn't met until we started meeting together, who say, thanks guys, this group's been amazing. And amazingly enough, guys that got together who didn't know what they're going to do, and now I can answer, I don't know about them, I can answer how they're going to help me. You know what's amazing? I can answer the third question. I know who's going to help me, I know how they're going to help me, and I know when. It's not a mystery. It's not this, I hope today's the day. It's been 38 years, but my time's got to be coming, right? It's like in baseball, they're due. They're going to get a hit eventually, right? No. This is not a mystical circumstance of maybe today the waters get stirred. Maybe it's today I actually get to the water first. Can you imagine being this guy and getting to the water and the water wasn't stirred? Can you imagine finally making it? And like, I can't even imagine it. I don't want to lose my hair. I'm just pulling it out, type of mentality. Do you know who it is in your life that you can come up and say, hey, Johnny, I'm struggling. And Johnny can say, tell me about it. Johnny can ask you questions in detail. So why do you think you did that? Hey, Johnny, is there anything else? I have another person who's one person. He's actually another superintendent in another conference I met this summer. He was the evangelist at camp. And I was just listening to him and his wife, who are both superintendents at 2 different conferences in our denomination, and they kind of tandem speak. And I was like, these are my people. I love their vision. I love their theology on how to grow as Christians in discipleship. And so I did the whole brave thing every church person does, right? They go to their pastor and ask to talk to him. And that never happens. But I went up to him and I thought, no one surely asks an evangelist if they can meet with them one-on-one after this, right? So I walked up to the guy. It took me several days to do. I got to Saturday and I was like, I'm waiting because they talked about as much as me. That's not true. But they talked a lot. And I was waiting. I get up to him, I'm like, hey, we'd already talked once before. When you're youth directors, people kind of come talk to you. And I asked him, like, would you be up to being a spiritual mentor of mine and meeting with me? Would you mind being my who? The next question came, sure. So, when are you going to meet? And I said, let's do it every other Thursday at 1:30. That was what we came up to. So now we video conference almost every other Thursday. And I remember the very first time we called, he asked me this question. So what do you want out of this? And to this day, I now, over the last 18 months, have been most vulnerable about my life. There's not a thing that's hidden. Because now I have the hope of the future solely because someone else reached out their hand and said, come on, get up. And this is what I recognize for some of you guys. You just need this. You know what happens? I mentioned this already. When we do this, we get down here in Christianity. We go from an I to an I to a we to let's praise Jesus. Maybe for you, this is the year you pray with goodness. You go to your closet, maybe you have a prayer room, and you just pray, this is the year I finally do it. This is going to be the year where I can say, I did it, guys. I have no kids potty training. Meaning they're done potty training, no more diapers, no more diaper pails. We walked in the house last night and being home, we're like, does it always smell like this? This is going to be the year that doesn't happen again. Actually, I don't have a lot of hope there because my perspective is poor. But my point is, you might need a perspective change. You might want to have a different perspective. But this man learned, Jesus, sure, I want to be well, but who is there to help me? And this is why I know for every single one of you today, Jesus is ready to be your who. He's already told you with how many thousands worth of pages in your own text, Bible's in front of you, how he's going to do it. And he said, when? Anytime, I'm right here. Maybe for you today, the answer needs to be, yes, I need somebody else. Maybe it's not even your wife. It's amazing now, to be honest with you, how much I tell Rachel solely because somebody else is asking me questions. You can ask, I don't know how vulnerable, it's weird. I'm like, it's so good to tell you that. I'm like, I would have never told you that before. But now, because someone's being vulnerable, I am there. And so I ask simply today, who is it that's going to help you get a new perspective today? Can you name them? Do you know how they're going to do it? And when are you going to meet? Because I truly believe if you start this way, your year will change. And I truly believe if you start with Jesus, Jesus has a way to help you, and he's ready whenever you're ready. Maybe today you can just simply say, Jesus, I need you to be my who. And Jesus, I know how you're going to heal me. You're going to forgive me. You're willing to transform me. You're willing to never leave me, never forsake me. You're willing to love me like you did Peter, who denied me 3 times. You're willing to love me like you did Paul, who was a crusader of his own and killing the church. You're going to love me just like you did the prostitutes of old. You're going to love me just like you did that lady in John chapter 8 and said, don't stone this woman. Yeah, she had an affair, but it's okay. Don't stone her. I'm going to love this lady. I'm going to forgive her. And what did Jesus do? He stooped down to her and said, is anybody condemned you? And he helped her. Maybe today is the day you finally let Jesus be your who. But at the very least, every single one of us who are Christians need to be able to answer these 3 questions. Because Jesus looked at a man who wanted to be healed for 38 years, 13,870 days. All because he couldn't answer these 3 questions. Most Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, so much for today. Thank you, Lord, so much for the opportunity to be together, to worship, to laugh, to celebrate, to be able to see friends, maybe new friends, old friends. But Lord, today I know that some of us are looking forward to the future. Some of us have said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've done and tried. Last year was a different year. Why would this year be different? And I pray, Lord, today that you would give us a different reason to believe. That you would give us a different set of platforms to have hope. Because we know who you are, and you are in our midst. You are the person who has come and you died for our sins, and you are alive in your resurrection today so we can experience new life. That any one of us who choose to believe in you will have life today and in the future. So, Lord, I just pray, Lord, that you would give me a Paul like you gave Timothy Paul. Or that you would give me a Luke like you gave Luke to a person whom he wrote both of his epistles to the gospel and Acts to. He's a great Theophilus. I pray, Lord, that you would just continue to give every single one of us those providential relationships, those people who take us because of your love, take us over the top. I pray, Lord, this would be the year we did it because we did it not alone, but with the person around us, maybe the person to our left, who can ask us the hard questions, who can challenge us. We know when we meet, we know who it is, we know exactly how they're going to help us. We pray this in the wonderful, powerful name of Jesus. And all my people said, amen. God bless you. Shake hands, be friendly. Have an amazing start to 2019.